Hello everyone, it's Louise here from Busy Mum Homestead, and I have got my phone fixed if you've been watching along. um, I haven't posted, I do apologise, for quite a while. I got really busy over the summer. As you know, if you've been watching my journey for the last couple of videos, you'll know that I've been hand watering all of the pots, and it was quite time consuming and hot, and just with Christmas and being busy and trying to rest and catch up before going back to work, and then I only had a little amount of time off and had to go to work. So unfortunately I haven't had time to do videos, so I thought today I would jump on and give you a little tour of our garden. um, it's not, we live in suburbia, so, and we're in a cool climate, so my garden's not the best. Most of it is in pots, because I rent as well, so that means I'm constrained with what I can do in our garden. So I'm going to take you for a tour. We've had an interesting summer again. We had a very cool December, and so our plants really didn't start to take off to January. April has been very warm still. So I still have plants that are flowering at the moment, and I have slowed down on watering them, so they haven't grown a lot and they look a bit yuck, but that's my fault more than anything. And then this week in particular, we had some cold nights down to 3 degrees. So they are starting to finish off, but I'm hesitant to pull them out this week. I was going to pull out all our tomato plants this weekend. However, I've looked at the forecast for the next week and it's actually going to be pretty warm. And as I'll show you, there are still some that have tiny little tomatoes on them. So I would like to try and get as many as I can. So perhaps next weekend will be the weekend that I'll pull them all out. So with that, let's go and have a look at what's happening in my garden. So here is one of my tomato Roma plants, and yes, it's looking a bit sick. They are unloved. They're getting towards the end of their life. However, as you can see, there's some flowers on there and there's still a baby Roma. Now I know they're not going to do a lot, and I probably should just take them out anyway this weekend. However, in trying to preserve as much food as I can, I am quite happy to let them go for now, and just see how long it takes. As I said, we've had a really warm autumn so far. So, and in this particular spot, so I'll come back here. So these are 2 cherry tomatoes. They're Gardener's Delight, and then we've got Roma down the bottom. So this is a brick wall, so it's going to absorb the heat anyway, and it's actually under the awning, so it is protected. So I'm kind of thinking that I may just leave these in and just as an experiment and see what happens with them, because as you can see from here, sorry, I'm just trying to walk over my cat, I still have quite a lot of fruit on the back, and then there's some going yellow at the back there. So, and there's quite a few down there. So I'm really thinking I'm just going to leave, especially these pots here, because they're still going okay. Now along the side we had some chilies, and I picked 2 red chilies off them. This is my habanero, and I picked one off it last weekend, and it's still got flowers on it as well. So again, it's in a protected spot against the brick wall. So I've turned around, and yes, there's a big weed of grass there. Just ignore that, sorry. I do have a shallot there growing, but this is another Roma tomato, and it's not doing as well. So the tomatoes are quite small. It's been burnt off with the cooler weather that we've had on and off. So this one I probably will, well, next weekend most definitely I'll take this one out. We have the capsicum here, and all of a sudden late they have decided to grow fruit. I never potted these up, as you can tell, but my plan is to take them inside over winter into the laundry room, and then next year I'll pop them into something bigger and keep them overwintered. Now these are also 2 tomato plants here, and they've died off, so they do need to come out. There's a little tomato on that one. I did have, about 6 weeks ago, I planted some broccoli, cauliflower and cabbage into my pots, in some of them. And unfortunately, in my garden in town, I have a wallaby getting in, and he ate them. So I will go and show you now what I've done. So these need a water. However, as I mentioned, about 6 weeks ago I got some seedlings, and they got attacked by whitefly and also a wallaby. So I think around about 2 weeks ago I came out, it could have even been 3, and decided that I was going to be lazy and do this. So what I have done, if you can't already tell, is I've gone around in a circle and planted some seed, and then another circle in the middle. Now I've done cauliflower, red cabbage, which is doing amazing, normal green cabbage, and that's a remnant seedling that has not grown, and broccoli. My plan is, once the tomatoes are all finished in the pots, that I will come and take out the little seedlings from these pots and replant them into the bigger ones. So I've kind of been waiting for the other ones to finish off before I planted those ones in. And so over here I did take out the 3 big tomato plants. They didn't do overly well this summer. I was actually quite disappointed with them, to be honest. Some of my other ones did much better. But what I did, I took a garlic clove out of my garden that actually grew last year out of my pantry, and I've planted in cloves. So you can see they are starting to pop up, which is very exciting. So I've got 2 pots of these, so I planted 10 cloves. So I should hopefully get 10 heads of garlic, but my intention is to go to the nursery and get some more as well to plant soon. And this is a zucchini plant that's still hanging on, although I do need to pull it out. Over here we've got very sad looking mini capsicum. And then I found the steal of the century at the nursery. I went into Mitre 10, and I think they had mislabeled this one, and on the pot was $14.95 in price. So I did not hesitate to grab that one. It is a Lisbon, I believe. Yeah. Now they do have thorns, and it does have thorns. However, for that price, for this tall of a seedling plant, I was not letting that go, and I don't care that it has thorns. And to be honest, the Lisbon lemons are very nice, so I really don't mind. My avocado is looking very healthy. I've actually kept the water up to it this year, so it's the nicest it's looked in a long time, which is quite good. I have some beetroot over here. I still have some chilies. I think that's a jalapeno in the back. The tomato plant needs to come out. There's a sick looking chili in there because the wallaby keeps attacking it. Now, I think I've said to you quite a few times to grow the sauce tomatoes. You can tell where it's out of the eaves. It is getting decimated by the cooler weather. However, where it's a little bit more protected, it's still doing okay. And I don't know if you can tell, but we have 1 tomato down there and 1 big one down there. So I will leave this for another weekend and then come out and harvest this one next weekend, I think. The shapes of these cucumbers just blow me away. They're so funny. Anyway, I've got some onions in here. I bought 2 punnets of onions and I've dotted them around. They also need a water. So there's about 5 onions per pot. That's another capsicum, I think, growing in there. I also planted some carrot seed the other weekend, and doesn't look like it's... Oh, actually, we do have some coming up. They also need a bit of a water. So I've still got some tomatoes on that one. I put this over that because I want to actually harvest the potatoes and I didn't want more water getting in to the pot. This is another carrot. So there are carrots coming up, which is very exciting. I've got more onions in this one. And I've had a mix of red and brown onions. This Roma needs to come out now. It's done. And look at this Roma. Just filled with them. They're tiny, but I still think a good week and they'll get a bit more decent sized, and I can harvest them green next weekend, but give them another week, I think, because the weather's going to be so nice. Now, my butternut pumpkins were tiny. I should show you them. They didn't grow any more than the last video you would have seen. I have planted some fennel seeds in here, but as yet I can't really see any coming up. Another very sick looking tomato. The mini capsicums. And yeah, that's about it for here. So up the back I have another sauce tomato growing some more tomatoes, hanging on and doing so well. And this is actually a butternut pumpkin vine that is still growing. And I really wonder if that's because the straw is over it. And look at all the flowers on it. Wow. So this unfortunately is a bit of a mess. I really need to get in and clean this up. We've got potatoes in there. More potatoes, a bit of wild mint growing on the ground there. And over here we had a potato plant and tomatoes. Oh, look at all those little tomatoes. I might actually pick them because we've had rodents in here, as you can tell, or the wallaby digging them up. And if he finds these tomatoes, they will be gone. So I might actually pick them. Actually, can I harvest that? Oops, I've just pulled out the whole plant. That's okay. What I'll do is I'll take this, the poor plant, I feel sorry for it. It has struggled and done so well in there, and then I just rip it out. Oh, going back, this is a pot that's been hit by the cooler weather, but I just noticed hiding in there is a little red tomato. Very good. I'll just cover that back up because the wallaby likes to So I've come around to the side of the house, and this is the warmest, sunniest spot in the garden and the brick wall behind it. So these plants have really been a lot more sheltered and also a bit dried out, to be honest, because they go through so much more water with the dry. But there is two massive tomatoes behind there, and then we've got some little ones here. This is what I mean. This Roma has just gotten so much more life, and it's looking so healthy and vibrant. I'm not sure that I want to take it out just yet. Over here in these poor little pots with these poor plants, we have another capsicum, and then we've got two, the only cayenne chili I managed to get. So two little ones here, just barely hanging on. One lone cucumber down the bottom that I will pick now. I'll just sit it there for now. Mini capsicums. So they actually go orange, so they need a little bit more time. I had cauliflower and broccoli there, but they got eaten. Now these I highly recommend. These borlotti beans were one of the best things that I grew this season. There was only 4 plants in there in that pot, and I got around about half a pint jar of dried beans out of these 4 plants. And what I loved most about this plant was that the pods really dried really quickly. So you could have new growth and new pods, but then you could have some that were also drying out that you could then harvest. So I next year plan on growing at least 3 pots of these. I would love to grow more. I don't know that I have the room, but I highly recommend growing borlotti beans, and they're beautiful, and they just grew so well and just kept producing. And they were the first to produce over the season, and they just kept producing all season. It is now May 3rd. We are in autumn, deep in autumn, and they've finally died off, but probably half of that is because I haven't been keeping up the water. So oh, and look, actually, I just noticed there was one plant in here, and there's another pod sitting there. Oh, 2 pods. Oh my gosh, I will take them inside. They have been amazing. I'm also going to harvest so right in January, I believe, or February, this is what's the name of it? I can't think of it right now. Pumpkin. Now, I got about 6 to 8 of these full-sized, and they're sitting in my office, and then in about January, February, late February, this vine had another growth spurt, and I put on another one. Now this is going to be too small, but this hopefully will still be some good eating with dinner in the next couple of nights. So go over here. I've still got 3 pots of tomatoes there. They all look sick out here. And then I've got my sweet potatoes. Now, I needed to come out and put more soil in that one, and I never got to it. But I'm kind of waiting off for the vine to die to harvest them. But I know I could do that soon, and my plan was to do that this weekend. If I do it, I'll bring you along. Or I may just leave it till next weekend. We'll see how I feel for the rest of the weekend. My rose, I don't know if I showed you, but in my video I did my birthday was the end of January, and on my birthday there were 3 roses that came out and bloomed, and it was just so beautiful. So it is still going, and it has done really well in that pot this year, so I'm very happy about that. The beans have finished it. There was pumpkin in there. I got one, I think it was a small sugar pumpkin, and I only got one off it. So I'm not sure that I'll plant them next year. This was golden nugget. Now I've harvested a larger one off it a few weeks ago, but now it has really finished. But it had another growth spurt, so it nearly died off in January, and then it came back and it gave me another couple of pumpkins. So that's also another one I would highly recommend and do in your garden, is a small nugget, especially in the cooler regions. Now over here I have 3 more tomato plants, and this one has a lot of tomatoes still on it, and even that one. And then this is aroma, and I've been harvesting quite a few off here, so it is doing really well as well. And as I said, more flowers, and it is the 3rd of May, so I'm really tempted to leave them in and just see how long they go, because it's against a wall out here and it gets the most sun. I'd be interested to see whether I could actually overwinter them, but I haven't made that decision yet. Okay, well, thanks for watching. And my cat and my chicken, I will appreciate you watching, and if you like my content, then please, I would love it if you could subscribe, comment, like and share to anyone who may be interested. I hope to bring you a lot more container growing and growing in spaces that perhaps for renters, it is a bit hard. This homesteading journey as a renter in town is probably one of the hardest things to do, and some people might not even call it homesteading. But anyway, self-sufficiency is what I aim to do in life and have always aimed to do. So I really would like to bring you along, and if you want to come along, I would appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. Thanks so much. See you next time. Bye.